I have been asked to offer my views on Iqbal's attitude towards science and metaphysics, that is, science and religion. Because in our discourse in the Muslim Institute, as there is no religion without metaphysics, and metaphysics is usually used interchangeably with religion. So I would elucidate it at the outset briefly. Firstly, his attitude is that of a splice between science and religion. Secondly, it's an attitude of division of labor between science and metaphysics. These two are the foundational principles. Iqbal goes beyond that, and there are two more points that need to be taken into consideration. And a few remarks about this can put these 4 points in perspective. Firstly, religion and science, both these forces are permanent fixtures in history. The obvious question is how they are to get along. Whitehead was of the opinion that more than any other single factor, the future of humanity depends on the way these two most powerful forces in history settle into relationship with each other. And their interface is being addressed today with a zeal that has not been seen since modern science arose. Iqbal was the sage who, while reformulating the classical perspective of the Islamic tradition on the nature of reality, while both in his prose and poetry, offered fresh insights about how religion and science are to get along. Quote, "Science can prove nothing about God because God lies outside its province, but its resources for deepening religious insights and enriching religious thinking are inexhaustible." This remark from another thinker would accurately describe Iqbal's methodology in his reconstruction. In particular, on the issue of relationship between science and religion and science. And something should be immediately added after that we must be careful here, for science cannot take a single step towards proving transcendence. But what it proves in its own domain, in the way of unity, interrelatedness, the immaterial, and the awesome, makes it one of the most powerful symbols of transcendence our age affords. Third point, Iqbal had critiqued the Newtonian view of reality in 1929. In these words, classical physics has learned to criticize its own foundations. As a result of this criticism, the kind of materialism which it originally necessitated is rapidly disappearing. And the day is not far off when religion and science may discover hitherto unsuspected mutual harmonies. And this is what is being said in contemporary discourse as well. For example, the developments in science have undercut a kind of crass Newtonian view of reality as consisting of ultimate little atoms that are unrelated to one another. Our century has undercut that. Interrelation between the parts of being, which David Bohm emphasizes with his concept of implicate wholeness, clearly is a move back toward the unity which all traditional philosophies, metaphysics of the East always emphasized. Fourth, quantum mechanics has suggested that the universe isn't built out of atoms or any other absolute or indivisible particles, but rather is a complex interaction of energetic processes arising from the pure potentiality. This is an important word, pure potentiality, which in the course of this is a long article, I will be reading a few passages. In the course of my discourse, I would be indicating its exact resonating ideas in the Quranic discourse, in the Hadith discourse, and our theological, metaphysical discourse, not only of Islam, but of all the other religions. So it is an interaction of energetic processes arising from pure potentiality, which is khazainus samawat. In the Quranic term, kanzan makhfiyan, hidden treasure of the hadith, the divine ground of being, the Brahm, mumkinate muzmarash, the hidden potentiality, in Iqbal's words, the ultimate ground of all experience, physical patterns and events, again Iqbal, its boundless potential, again Iqbal, the universe composed of interrelated vibratory events is more like a cosmic interference pattern than a structure comprising discrete material objects. This is the attitude which, but what is the background of this change and this change of attitude? Change in science and change of attitude in the religious thinking sphere. It was Peter Berger who expanded on his famous dictum. And what was the famous dictum? Homo sapiens have always been homo religiosus. And he altered it to the fact that if anything characterizes modernity, it is the loss of the sense of transcendence, of a reality that exceeds and encompasses our everyday affairs. And this is a very important thing. A human existence bereft of transcendence, बगैर किसी ऐसे हवाले के जो टाइम स्पेस मैट्रिक्स ज़मान मकान से वरा हो, वरा सुम्मा वराउल वरा, सुम्मा वराउल वरा, सुम्मा वराउल वरा. Without such a reference, a human existence bereft of transcendence is an impoverished and finally untenable condition. Ye Peter Berger. It is modern science, to be more correct, the scientistic worldview of the Enlightenment project bequeathed to modernity, which tries to maintain this impoverished and finally untenable condition. And this was overthrown by science itself. And this made that change of attitude to come about in religious thinking as well, vis-a-vis the changes in science. It seems clear that both science and religion are here to stay, and they have to enter into a healthy relationship. One that is mutually enriching and based on a wise division of labor. What could then be a viable model for a splice between science and religion? David Bohm provides us with one of such models. Reality has a physical and a metaphysical aspect. This statement could be safely considered as the epitome of David Bohm's finding, endorsed by his research in frontier physics that spanned well over 5 decades. David Bohm, physicist and close colleague of both Oppenheimer and Einstein, was a theorist whose work was an advance on Einstein's theory and greatly impacted the scientific worldview, opening new vistas that led towards a viable model for a splice between science and religion. Bohm was making such interesting claims about the nature of reality, one could not think of anyone whose theories and deeper ramifications for religion and philosophy. An unexpected ally in the fight against dogmatic scientism, materialism, that had prevailed in the academy and was responsible for the colonizing effects of science on humanities. In Iqbal's view, if anything characterized the modern era, it is the loss of faith in transcendence, in God as an objective reality. In all the doctrines of the East, pre-modern and pre-modern West, there was the premise that the physical world, the realm of change and impermanence, rises out of an unmanifest reality, and that reality itself is also non-local. Bohm was arguing that all of reality is interrelational. There is a facet of reality that science cannot see. Like Schrödinger, he was saying that the best understanding of the universe necessitated the acceptance of the view that reality has a metaphysical aspect an aspect that could by definition never be directly quantified or measured, though its effects in the realm of time and space could be. If I want to borrow the Islamic theological terms, Sifat-e Khudawandi could never be quantified, directly quantified or measured. लेकिन सिफात खुदाबंदी के आसार अफ़आल खुदाबंदी की शक्ल में इस कायनात में जिस तरह ज़हूर करते हैं, that could be measured. That's all the time science is doing. And this is precisely what Iqbal had proposed to with reference to the Quranic verse, Huwa al-awwalu wal-akhiru wal-zahiru wal-batin. It was ironic that at this time, when metaphysics had been barred from philosophy and psychology and other sciences and could not be taken seriously in the academic study of religion, it was being legitimately considered in the discipline of physics itself, the hardest of the hard sciences. This is not to say that our present ideas about physics will prove to be the last word, but whatever the future may bring, it is safe to conclude that a return of mechanism is not on the cards. Quantum mechanics has suggested the universe isn't built out of atoms or any other absolute or indivisible parts, but rather a complex interaction of energetic processes, as I said, pure potentiality. The storehouses, khazain of the Quran, the hidden treasure of Hadith, the divine ground of being, the Brahma, and the ultimate ground of experience. The universe composed of interrelational events is more like a cosmic interference pattern. The similarity between Bohm's views and certain tenets of the traditional metaphysical doctrines suggest that science was bringing metaphysics out of the mothballs. Bohm published his book in 1980, but he was working on the theory for the last 30 years. And the summary and its findings came out in 1980. Only saying this, that Bohm agreed with Einstein that nothing was likely to break light speed, that is, speed of light. This phenomena of the communicating photons suggested that quantum theory must somehow be incomplete. Almost exactly the same what Iqbal had said in 1929. That perhaps a better theory could resolve or explain away what happened to be a contradiction from inside the current view, the Newtonian. Maybe nothing could travel faster than light, but instantaneous communication is somehow possible because now speed is altogether gone. So Bohm's ideas were, in summary, that there is an implicate order of wholeness, which is unobservable, cannot be measured. And there is an explicate order of reality. And this explicate order of reality rises out of the implicate order of reality. Iqbal has a lot to say on this point in his reconstruction and of course in his poetry. So what I'll do now is just a quick walk through the poetry to give you an idea how the Hindu formulation of the same thing, which completely resonates with Bohm, is it is a reservoir of pure, they are talking of Brahma. It is a reservoir of pure potentiality out of which all reality emerges from nanosecond to nanosecond. It is the beyond being that flowers into all forms of being. Cheest alam, cheest adam, cheest haq, alam az rangas to berangist haq. Let me put you to a test. I'm reading 3 verses, but in English, without telling you what is what. Like pearls do we live and move and have our being in the perpetual flow of divine life. All at once, the ocean of generosity rose into outpouring and effusion, manifested everything out of itself by itself. Now tell me, who is this? Who is saying at once the ocean of generosity rose into outpouring and effusion, manifested everything out of itself by itself? And who is saying Like pearls do we live and move and have our being in the perpetual flow of divine life. And who is saying, upon me these words are held like pearls strung on a thread. فطرہ کا لفظ جو قرآن مجید میں آیا ہوا ہے، فاطر السماوات ہے، اور یہ فعل جہاں جہاں استعمال ہوا ہے، وہاں بھی عام طور پہ اس کو خالق اور جنریٹر اوریجنیٹر کے طور پہ ترجمہ کر دیا جاتا ہے. اگر لفظ پہ ذرا سا غور کریں تو وہ یہ بات کہہ رہا ہے جو ابھی ہم نے کہی ہے کہ یہ ٹیئرنگ آف لائک فاطر آف دا ہیونز اینڈ ارتھ gives us a picture found in every metaphysical discourse in all traditions of the globe. God created the cosmos by separating heaven and earth. Before this separation, everything was uniform and indistinct in him. جو بالکل یہی بات جو بوم نے کہی تھی، جو بھگوت گیتا نے کہی تھی، جو لاؤ ٹزو نے کہی تھی، جو ٹاؤازم میں کہی گئی، جو مہاتما بدھ نے کہی. دیکھیے حقیقت کے بارے میں، الٹیمیٹ ریالٹی کے بارے میں سب ایک ہی. ہم دلی از ہم زبانی بہتر ہے. زبانیں الگ الگ ہیں لیکن اس معاملے میں سارے ہم خیال اور ہم دل ہو کے بات کر رہے ہیں. خیشتن را چوں خودی بیدار کرد، آشکارا عالم پندار کرد. صد جہاں پوشیدہ اندر ذات او، غیر او پیداست از اثبات او. وا نمودن خیش را خوے خودیست، خفتہ در ہر ذرہ نیروے خودیست. زیر خاک ما شرار زندگیست، نقطۂ نورے کے نامے او خودیست. جو بالکل جامی کی طرح جیسے بول رہے ہیں. بضمیرت آرمیدم تو بجوش خود نمائی. I was in rest in the hidden core of your being. تو بجوش خود نمائی بکنارہ برفگندی در آب دار خود را. You in your fervor of self-disclosure threw out your precious pearl on the shore. نگاہ پیدا کرے غافل، تجلی عین فطرت ہے کہ اپنی موج سے بیگانہ رہ سکتا نہیں دریا. تھینک یو.